Welcome to my YouTube video. My name is Lizzie and I am the creator of Holistic, a bakery and wellness company. I'm so excited that you're here, and this is my very first YouTube video showing a recipe in depth. So I'm very excited. On my Instagram I did a poll to see which recipe my followers wanted to see the most first. And so we are going to start out with the classic sourdough artisan loaf. And I will show you exactly how I make it step by step so that you can make it at home too. The first step to any sourdough recipe that calls for active sourdough is to feed your leavening, to make a leavening jar. So this is what you will do like the night before. That's when I like to do it. It needs to be at least 12 hours before though. My favorite schedule though is to do it right before I go to bed or sometime in the evening, so that it will be ready to use 12 hours later the next morning. To make one sourdough loaf, you're going to need 10 grams of starter, 50 grams of flour, and 50 grams of water, and you'll mix that all together. That will be your leavening. You'll set it aside, cover it loosely, and it will sit there for 12 hours or until it is ready to use. It might take a little longer than 12 hours depending on the temperature of your house. All right, here's my starter that I fed last night. Let me find the line. This is where the line is. I don't know if you can see that green line, but it's doubled in size and it is very bubbly. It is very stretchy, like you can see those strands in there. It's ready to use, so I'm gonna go ahead and use it to make my dough. The recipe that I make, like I said, it calls for it will make one loaf of sourdough. So if you wanna make multiple loaves, you would just, double or triple the recipe to make however many loaves you're wanting to make. This is a pretty standard sourdough recipe with the hydration level and percentage and all of that, so it's a pretty common one. You can tweak it a little bit to if you want to add like a wheat flour, like do part wheat, part all-purpose, all of those things. I use the organic Costco all-purpose flour because it has a good protein percentage, and that's just the kind that I like to use. If you want to, like I said, add some variations to it though to, make it part wheat or things like that, then you would just adjust it a little bit for that. But this recipe right now, like I said, I will be making with just all-purpose flour from Costco. I have my bowl and a kitchen scale that will weigh in grams, ready to go. I've zeroed out my bowl and I'm going to add 350 grams of water. It does not need to be warm water. It's just, I'm just using I'm using filtered water, so it's like room temperature water. But it's okay if it's cold water or if it's room temperature, that doesn't matter. Okay, 350 grams of water. And then I'm gonna go ahead and add my 100 grams of starter. And since I measured it out, I have other starter over here, so this is not my only starter. This one I only measured out specifically for this recipe. So I can go ahead and just dump all of this starter in because I know that it's the 100 grams of starter. You can measure it if you want, like if you have fed your starter in a larger jar and you didn't feed it separate like that, then you can measure out the 100 grams, but you don't have to. And mine was still on the scale, and now it's reading 450, so it was 100 grams exactly of starter. It's okay if it's like 102 grams or whatever. We don't need to get like caught up in the details of that. And then another trick to know your starter is ready, I'll move the camera and show you, but if your starter is floating in your water, that's also another trick that it's ready, but I mainly go by how it looks in the jar before I use it. So as you can see, my starter is floating on there. I'm now gonna go ahead and measure out 500 grams of all-purpose flour, the organic kind from Costco. I'm done adding the flour, water, and salt, and now I'm gonna let it do a fermentalize. That is just where you mix the flour, water, and salt together until the ingredients are incorporated. There's no dry flour, and you're gonna let it sit for a while without adding the salt. Salt slows down the fermentation process, so sometimes it's nice to give your dough a little bit of a head start. It helps speed up that fermentation process and helps the bulk ferment go a little faster. So that's what I like to do, and I feel like it also allows the flour to absorb that water a little bit better so that it's all nice and wet and not dry, and it's easier to mix. So those are a few reasons why I like to do that. So I'm just gonna mix that up. This is my dough hook that I love. Got flour all over me. It's from Barlow & Co. I absolutely love it. I have a code and I'll put that down in the comments below if you are interested in it. So you get it mixed up to be about right here. It's kind of getting harder to mix with this now. So at that point, you're going to just kind of combine it the last little bit with your hand. I like to use these circular motions, go around the bowl, kind of scoop it and push it down like this. And I just do this until the flour is incorporated and there's not any dry bits of flour. At this point, the dough is going to be the stickiest that it should be the entire process. All right, so as you can see, it did not take very long. I just kind of get what I can off of my fingers, so most of it is still in there, and then I'm going to let it sit on the counter covered for 1 hour. I like to measure my salt out in a smaller separate bowl. So I just measured 10 grams of salt out, and then I'm gonna get it just a little bit wet so it has the consistency of wet sand. And this will just make it easier to mix into my big bowl of dough. Dry sand is really hard to get mixed in well, so this will just help it mix in better. So here's my wet salt. So it's just the consistency of wet sand now. And then I'm just gonna pour that into my bowl of dough. And then I'm gonna do that same scooping circular motion around the bowl to get that salt mixed in. And it was a little faster just incorporating the dough. As you can see, look at how different the dough already is. It's like a lot less sticky and it's more stretchy. So that gluten has already started developing since we let it sit for that hour. You can see that it's starting to do that, like that. So you just keep going until it stops kind of doing that. And then the salt is more incorporated into the dough. And as you can see, it's like a smooth ball is the consistency. And now I'm gonna let that sit on the counter covered for another hour. Our dough has sat out now for 1 hour on the counter, another hour after we added the salt. We're going to do a set of stretch and folds now really quick. Just barely wet my hands so that it doesn't stick as bad, the dough, to my hands. And then you can either do the stretch and folds where you lift up one side, stretch it up, and then fold it down. And then you do that on all 4 sides, like that. Or you can do coil folds, which is what I prefer. Either one works fine, but that's just what I prefer. So you're gonna grab the dough from about the middle and you're gonna lift up and just kind of pull it towards you and then coil it down. And you'll do that couple times just till the dough is pulled up like that. Now I'm going to rotate it and do it on the opposite side from the side I was just doing. So lift up in the middle, pull towards you, let it coil down, up, coil down. And then you're gonna do it on the other 2 sides. Those ones will be a little bit different. You might just do it like once, tuck it under, like that. And we'll lift that up and tuck it under. So that is 1 set of coil folds. And now I'm going to cover this dough again and let it sit on the counter for 1 more hour, where after that hour I will do 1 more set of stretch and folds or coil folds. It has now been another hour, so we're gonna do the last set of stretch and folds. Again, lightly wetted my hands. Now we're gonna do those coil folds again. So I'm gonna grab in the middle, lift up, and pull towards me. It is crazy to me still, even though I've done sourdough for many years now, just how cool the process is. And just watching the dough change just even over 1 hour, it's really cool to me. As you can see, it's a lot more elastic and smooth. Of a dough. And that's what it's looking like now. This dough is now going to be covered and set back on the counter, and it's going to finish the bulk ferment phase. So the bulk ferment phase starts from the moment the dough is mixed, and then it just keeps going until it's done. And we do some stretch and folds in there and add the salt, but it has been fermenting this whole time. So now we're just gonna let it finish its job. And what I like to do for this is to just kind of, it usually takes about 5 to 6 hours from the time you mix your dough till it is finished. But temperature of your house is going to change that, and make that a little bit different for everyone, and the temperature of the water when you added your water into your dough. If it was warmer water, that fermenting process is going to go faster because it is a little bit warmer. So just there's so many variables that can affect what that time looks like for you. What I like to look for in my dough is a 30 to 50% rise in order to know that the bulk fermentation is complete. And then after that, we will shape our dough and we will put it in a banneton basket and cold proof it in the fridge overnight. So sometimes my cold proof ends up being around 14 hours. Usually it's between 12 to 14 hours. So for this dough, this is where it is right now, where we're starting. And so we're looking for, like I said, a 30 to 50% rise. So you kind of just have to look at the container and your dough, you know, because it's going to change. If I'm mixing multiple loaves in one container and things like that, it's going to be a different size, obviously. So you just kind of have to gauge what size your dough is now, kind of look at your container and mark a spot of where it would approximately be after that 30 to 50% rise. And once it's there, you know it's ready to shape. I will come back. I know for my house it takes about 5 to 6 hours. It's a little colder in here today, so it'll probably be closer to the 6-hour mark. It's already been sitting out for, because you wait an hour and then do 2 sets of stretch and fold, so it's already been sitting out for 3 hours. I will come back and check it in about 2 to 3 more hours. Okay, it has been a little over 6 hours. I was cleaning, so I didn't get to it till 6.5 hours after I had first made the dough. But as you can see, it is a little, well, you can't really see the numbers right here, but it's a little bit above the 1 quart, just barely. It's like right above it. And then there's tons of little air bubbles all around. So this is looking really good, and I'm gonna go ahead and shape it right now. So I'm just gonna go ahead and dump it out on the counter, and I'm going to let this, I'm gonna shape it and build tension and all of that, but then I'm gonna let it sit on the counter for 15 minutes before I put it in the banneton basket. That just kind of helps the dough settle a little bit into the boule shape, and then we can go ahead and put it in the fridge. So it's not super sticky. It's a little sticky. It might have been a little past, but honestly it's coming out pretty easy. As you can see, like, it's not sticking all over my hands. It's coming out pretty good. Just a little bit sticky. But that's fine. Like I said, sourdough's pretty darn resilient. So it'll be just fine. Okay. Now I just kind of go like this. I grab, yeah, see, it's a little sticky, but that's okay. All right, I grab the side opposite of me, kind of shake it up, and then fold it down. And then I grab this side that's on the opposite side of where I started. Do the same thing. And I just do that on all 4 sides to kind of just start making that shape. All right. Okay, I got it. So I'm just gonna kind of scoop that up and over. And then I'm gonna start shaping my boule by building tension. So I like to, so you're gonna wanna leave the bottom on the counter, on the surface that you're shaping it on, so that it doesn't, you're not like rolling it up, because then it's gonna get really sticky and be super messy, and you wanna do this part just really quickly and efficiently and not overwork the dough, or else it gets super sticky. So I'm just gonna grab this side and I'm gonna slide it towards me, leaving the bottom on the bottom and kind of tucking the bottom in as I go. And then I pick it up and kind of rotate it, stick it away from me again, and pull. So this is what I do. So I'm gonna kind of just slide it and tuck towards me. And then I kind of pick it up, and it's a little sticky. But yeah, like I said, you just wanna be quick with it, and it's okay. Even if it's a little sticky, it works out. And see that how I'm getting that tension here, and it's getting really smooth on the top and really tight. And I'm just tucking that bottom in as I slide it towards me. And then, like I said, you don't want to overwork this part. You just want to get it tight and where it is. And now that it's here, I'm going to let it sit for 15 minutes. Okay, it's sat for 15 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and flip it over and fold it again a little bit and put it in my basket. So I just use my bench scraper to flip it over carefully, and then I'm going to clasp it right there, and then clasp it right here, and then I can just kind of like pinch up the edges right here, and then I pick it up and just set it in my basket. And then I'm gonna cover it and put it in the fridge until tomorrow morning when I will bake it. The dough has been in the fridge proofing overnight, and I have preheated my Dutch oven in the oven at 500 degrees, and it's ready to go. So now I'm going to flip my loaf onto my bread mat, score it, and bake it. This is my bread mat. If you don't have that, you can just use parchment paper. But then I'm gonna flip it over like that. Then I'm going to lightly sprinkle with a little flour. You can do flour. Or if you don't want to put any more gluten on it at this point because it won't have time to develop, you can use rice flour. And then I'm going to score it. This is just my deep score to tell my loaf where to expand, and then you can do like some decorative ones as well. And then it's ready to go. This is gonna bake with the lid on for 22 minutes at 450. And then we will go ahead and take the lid off and bake it for another 20 minutes at 450. Timer has gone off. I'm going to take the lid off. This is what it's looking like. I'm going to put it back in the oven for another 20 minutes to finish cooking. And it is finished. So we'll just let this cool, and that is our artisan loaf.